Do you see it now? Do you see what fear looks like? The voice was cold, dispassionate, as it echoed across the galaxy. Billions of beings across countless star systems sat transfixed, their screens filled with an unrelenting display of horror. The Galactic Empire's broadcast, beamed in high-definition clarity, left no detail to the imagination. On the vast, desolate surface of the human colony Alien 7, rows of gallows stretched beyond the horizon. Beneath an oppressive, storm-laden sky, over 1 million human prisoners stood silently, their faces gaunt, their bodies trembling not from the cold, but from the inescapable finality of what was to come. Above them loomed massive Imperial drones, their metallic carapaces gleaming as they hovered, recording every second for the Empire's propaganda machine. The Empire's governor stood at the forefront of the execution platform, his crimson robes fluttering in the artificial breeze generated by hovering grav tanks. His scaled features betrayed neither guilt nor satisfaction, only the rigid determination of one carrying out orders. He raised a clawed hand, signaling the executioners to prepare. In the Galactic Alliance headquarters, light years away, a silent crowd of diplomats and species representatives watched the unfolding nightmare in stunned horror. Among them was a human diplomat, a lone figure sitting rigid in the back row, their expression unreadable. The diplomat's sharp suit and calm demeanor starkly contrasted with the raw emotions rippling through the room. The glow of the broadcast reflected in their dark eyes as they absorbed every detail with cold precision. The execution began. A low mechanical hum filled the air as the gallows' automated systems activated. In synchronized precision, the first row of prisoners dropped, then the next, and the next. There was no chaos, no screams, only silence from the victims and the rhythmic thuds of bodies falling limp. "These are the consequences of defiance," the Empire's governor declared, his voice booming over the broadcast. "Let this stand as a reminder to all who would challenge the will of the Galactic Empire. Resistance is not survival. It is annihilation." In the council chamber, a murmur of disbelief rippled through the alien representatives. Many turned away from their screens, unable to bear the sight, while others whispered anxiously to one another. A towering representative of the Arborians, her bark-like skin trembling, glanced at the human diplomat. This cannot be allowed. Surely, Earth must retaliate." The diplomat didn't respond immediately. Their hands were clasped tightly together, knuckles pale. They seemed lost in the broadcast, their gaze fixed on the mass executions as if burning every second into memory. Then, with a slow exhale, they stood. Retaliation? No. The room fell silent, all eyes on them. This is not about retaliation. This is about justice. Retaliation is emotional. Justice is deliberate. As the diplomat spoke, the broadcast shifted. The camera drones panned over the endless fields of gallows, zooming in on prisoners awaiting their turn. A woman held her child close, shielding them from the harsh winds. An elderly man stared into the distance, his lips moving in silent prayer. A young soldier, bruised and battered, stood with unbroken defiance in his eyes, meeting the camera as though daring the galaxy to look away. "This is what they wanted," the diplomat continued, their voice calm but firm. "A spectacle, a display of power to cow us into submission. They believe fear will silence us. They believe humanity will bow. They are wrong." The broadcast cut back to the governor, now stepping down from the platform as row after row of humans continued to perish. 1 million, he declared to the galaxy. 1 million lives erased in one day. And we shall do it again and again until humanity learns its place. The diplomat's jaw tightened, but their voice remained steady as they addressed the council. 1 million. They call it a warning. I call it a crime. And every crime demands justice. They turned, their gaze sweeping across the chamber. If this council does not act, then humanity will. But mark my words, inaction makes you complicit. If you do nothing, their blood is on your hands too. For a moment, silence reigned in the chamber, broken only by the final moments of the broadcast. The governor turned toward the camera one last time, his scaled face curling into a mocking grin. To Earth, I say this. We await your surrender. Your people are weak, your forces scattered. Resistance is futile. You will kneel, or you will burn. The broadcast ended abruptly, the screens going dark. The chamber lights flickered back on, and the alien representatives looked at one another uneasily. Some whispered in hushed tones. Others avoided the human diplomat's piercing gaze. The diplomat stepped toward the central dais, where the council leader sat. Their voice, now low but seething with restrained fury, cut through the murmurs like a blade. The Galactic Empire believes it can rule through fear. They believe that atrocity will break us. They paused, letting the weight of their words settle. What they fail to understand is that fear only sharpens humanity's resolve. Justice is not an abstraction. It is the foundation upon which civilizations stand, the human diplomat declared, their voice reverberating across the grand chamber of the Galactic Alliance. The massive room, filled with representatives from hundreds of star systems, had fallen deathly silent. All eyes were fixed on the diplomat, whose composed demeanor masked the fire in their words. The holographic displays above the chamber flickered to life, showing images of Alien 7 before and after the atrocity, pictures of bustling cities, verdant landscapes, and families thriving under Earth's banner contrasted starkly with the desolation left by the Empire's siege. Smoldering ruins, empty streets, and fields littered with unburied bodies. Look closely, the diplomat continued, pacing deliberately across the central platform. This is what the Galactic Empire calls peace. This is their warning to us. To all of us. They gestured to the council members, their movements sharp and precise. They expect submission, compliance, and silence in exchange for survival. But humanity refuses to be silenced. A soft murmur rippled through the chamber. Some representatives nodded in quiet agreement. Others avoided the images altogether, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The Arborian delegate, her wooden features grim, spoke up. Human diplomat, the Empire claims this was a punitive action. They accuse your people of insurgency and illegal expansion. What say you to this? The human turned to face her, their expression unwavering. Alien 7 was a colony established under the treaties ratified by this very council. Its people were civilians, scientists, engineers, farmers, living within the bounds of galactic law. The Empire's claims of insurgency are baseless, a thin veil to justify their lust for domination. The holograms shifted, displaying the Empire's broadcast of the mass execution. The room flinched collectively as the footage replayed. The diplomat continued, their voice cutting through the tension like steel. They hanged 1 million people. Not soldiers, not combatants, children, elders, families. They did this not because humanity posed a threat, but because we represent something they fear. Resistance to tyranny. The Revelant delegate, a reptilian figure with glinting golden eyes, raised a clawed hand. Diplomat, this council has condemned the Empire's actions, but war is a costly endeavor. Why should the Alliance risk provoking further conflict on humanity's behalf? The diplomat turned their gaze to the Revelant, their tone sharpening. Because this is not just about humanity. Today, it was Alien 7. Tomorrow, it will be another colony, another species, another world. The Empire's appetite for power knows no bounds. If you fail to act, you embolden them. You teach them that fear works. They paused, scanning the room, their eyes piercing through the silence. And when they come for you, there will be no one left to stand with you. Humanity has learned this lesson the hard way. We will not let history repeat itself. The Arborian leaned forward. And what does humanity propose? Revenge? Retaliation? No! The diplomat replied firmly. Justice. We are not here to seek vengeance. We are here to demand accountability, to show the galaxy that no empire, no matter how powerful, is above the law. The holograms shifted again, this time displaying documents, witness testimonies, and recordings. We have gathered irrefutable evidence of the Empire's crimes. These executions, these atrocities, were deliberate acts of terror. They violated every principle this council was founded upon. If the Alliance cannot enforce its own laws, then it is nothing more than an illusion. The room erupted into hushed whispers. Some representatives nodded in agreement, while others whispered anxiously to their aides. The council leader, a silver-skinned being whose face shimmered with an otherworldly glow, raised a hand to quiet the room. Diplomat, you have made a compelling case. But what do you seek as justice? The diplomat stepped forward, their voice steady and resolute. We demand that the Galactic Empire be held accountable for its crimes, that its leaders face trial for their actions, and that reparations be made to the victims of Alien 7 and their families. The council leader tilted their head, their glowing eyes narrowing. And if the Empire refuses? For the first time, a flicker of emotion broke through the diplomat's calm facade. Their voice dropped, carrying a dangerous edge. Then humanity will act alone. We do not want war, but if forced, we will fight. And I assure you, when humanity fights, we do not lose. The silence that followed was deafening. The weight of the statement hung over the room like a storm cloud, leaving the council members to grapple with the implications. The diplomat took a step back, their expression once again unreadable. The Empire believes that might makes right. Let us prove them wrong. Let us show the galaxy that justice still matters, that the Alliance stands for something more than words. The council leader nodded slowly, their glowing features inscrutable. We will deliberate. Your case has been heard. As the diplomat left the chamber, the murmurs began anew, echoing off the high walls like distant thunder. The galaxy had heard humanity's plea for justice. Whether the council would act remained uncertain, but one thing was clear. The Empire's time of reckoning was near. The council chamber reconvened 2 cycles later, its atmosphere charged with unease. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy had gathered, their voices hushed but urgent. The weight of humanity's accusations against the Galactic Empire loomed large, and the Alliance's decision would ripple across the stars. The human diplomats stood in the center of the room once more, their posture tense yet dignified. Behind them, a holographic display looped the atrocities on Alien 7, a grim reminder of the stakes. Across the chamber, the Empire's ambassador, a towering, armored figure with a voice like grinding metal, sat impassively, their expression unreadable. The council leader raised their hand, their voice clear and measured. After much deliberation, the Galactic Alliance has reached a decision. The room fell silent, every breath held in anticipation. The council leader's glowing eyes swept across the chamber. The actions of the Galactic Empire on Alien 7 have been deemed in violation of the Alliance Charter, constituting crimes against sentient life. The Empire is hereby ordered to relinquish control of Alien 7 and its surrounding systems, provide reparations to the victims' families, and submit its leadership for trial under galactic law. The chamber erupted into a cacophony of reactions, some cheering, others shouting in disbelief. The human diplomat stood motionless, their face a mask of composure. The Empire's ambassador rose slowly, their voice booming as they spoke. This decision is an affront to the natural order. The Empire does not recognize the authority of this council. We will not bow to lesser beings. The diplomat took a single step forward, their voice cutting through the noise like a blade. Then you leave us no choice. The ambassador sneered. What can humanity do? You are but an insect before the might of the Empire. The human's lips curved into a small, dangerous smile. Insects only need numbers and persistence to bring down even the greatest of empires. At that moment, the holographic display shifted. New images appeared. Massive fleets of human warships, bristling with weapons, emerging from the shadows of uncharted space. Experimental technologies, long hidden from prying eyes, flickered into view. Earth's colonies, united under a single banner, stood ready for war. You underestimated us, the diplomat continued, their voice steady and cold. You believed humanity's survival was a fluke, our resistance a fleeting annoyance. But we are not like the others you've crushed beneath your heel. We learn, we adapt, and when provoked, we act. The Empire's ambassador hesitated, their confidence faltering as the images unfolded. Humanity's fleet was not just prepared, it was positioned. The Empire's territories were surrounded, its critical supply lines compromised, its strongholds vulnerable. The council leader interjected, their voice calm but firm. Diplomat, the Alliance's decision must be enforced through collective action, not unilateral measures. The human turned to the leader, their expression softening slightly. We respect the Council's decision and welcome its enforcement. But understand this. Humanity will not stand idly by while the Empire defies justice. If they refuse to comply, we will finish what they started. The Empire's ambassador barked a laugh, though it lacked conviction, bluff and bravado. Your kind would not risk annihilation. The diplomat's gaze hardened. You're right. We wouldn't risk annihilation. We'd ensure it, for you. For a long moment, the chamber was silent. Then, slowly, the Empire's ambassadors sank back into their seat, their arrogance replaced by unease. The Empire will comply, they growled, each word forced through gritted teeth. The council leader nodded. The Galactic Alliance will oversee the transition of Alien 7 and the trials. This decision is final. As the session adjourned, the human diplomat left the chamber to a wave of applause from sympathetic delegates. Outside, they paused to gaze at the endless stars through the council building's towering windows. A young aide approached, their expression a mix of awe and concern. Ambassador, do you think they'll really honor the council's ruling? The diplomat's eyes remained fixed on the stars. Empires don't change overnight. There will be resistance, sabotage, and lies. But this is the first step, a step toward accountability, toward a galaxy where no one suffers alone. The aide nodded but hesitated. And if they don't comply? The diplomat's voice was quiet but firm, carrying the weight of Earth's resolve. Then humanity will remind them why justice isn't optional. The stars outside gleamed brighter than ever, as if reflecting the hope and fire that burned within humanity. The Empire had been forced to retreat, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy stood on the precipice of real change. The diplomat turned away from the window, their steps resolute as they walked into the future they had fought to shape. Humanity had been underestimated for too long, but now the galaxy knew the truth. When humans demand justice, they do not ask twice.